Welcome to the Guns and Noses podcast. My name's Helen Taylor and I am the owner of Guns and Noses, and I own 3 Labradors. We're here to talk about real moments, real lives, and the wins, the wobblers, and the occasional up yours moments. We're talking about those dogs with enthusiasm and us humans who are trying to keep up. So why don't you sit back, grab a brew, slow down, and listen in. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Guns and Noses podcast. Now, last week we talked about slowing things down, slowing ourselves down and our dogs down enough to be able to observe what they are telling us rather than rushing through or trying to fix everything in that moment. And this week, I definitely want to stay right there and zoom in on one small behaviour that often goes completely unnoticed, and that is the shake-off. It's not an obvious one, and it's not the I've got wet shake-off. So when they've had a bath or when they've been in a puddle or a pond and they shake off. I'm talking about the shake-offs out of context and what they tell us about learning, pressure, and coping. Before we go much further into this podcast, I do just want to apologise if you can hear lots of squeaking of toys, because my dogs seem to think that this is the appropriate time to start playing. But if we carry on the conversation about shake-offs, I want you to think about this from your perspective. Now, as humans, we definitely wouldn't shake our whole bodies, not like dogs do, but our nervous system still regulates in very similar ways. I want you to think about the times where you might get goosebumps or you take a deep breath without realising. You might shift in your seat or stand up after sitting too long. You might even just give your shoulders a little bit of a roll. You might also do a sigh or stretch. None of these things are very dramatic. They're not big meltdowns and they're not problems. But they are your body's way of saying, that was too much. I need a little moment. I'm just going to reset here. Dogs do exactly the same thing. They just do it with a shake. A shake-off is a natural regulation behaviour. It's your dog's way of releasing pressure from their nervous system. Think of it as a physical reset, a deep breath from a dog. When a dog gets wet and shakes, that's contextual. We all understand that. But when there's no obvious physical reason, your dog is processing something internal. And that something might be learning or environmental pressure. Let's talk a little bit about training sessions. Now, if you're teaching your dog something new and your dog is engaged, they're thinking, they're putting their all into doing that activity, and then they shake, that shake-off may or may not be stress. It could be avoidance, but it's not your dog saying, I don't like this. What we have to think about during training sessions is if we are asking them to do something new that's a pretty difficult behaviour and your dog continuously shakes after every repetition or every input from you, then that could be a sign that they're not coping with that particular way of teaching. It could be their sign of saying, this is like really too hard and I'm finding this very difficult. But if it happens infrequently, so after every 5 reps or every 10 reps, then that's their way of processing the information. And what's really important here is we look at the amount of times that it happens. If it's happening every single repetition, then it could be that they're finding it stressful. So these are really important things for you to observe and watch. If we think about it in what we would maybe do is, we may lean back into our chair after concentrating hard for a few minutes, or if you've been on a Zoom call for half an hour. It could be standing up after a long meeting and giving your body a big stretch out. It doesn't mean to say that you didn't enjoy it or that it was really stressful and difficult. It could mean that actually they just found it a little bit hard and their brain has worked overtime and they just need a little moment. And that shake off is processing all that data, all that information that they've just been given. So you might see a shake off after a successful repetition. You might see one when they've figured something out, so that real light bulb moment. Or you might see one after a little bit of uncertainty. And those moments, allowing that pause, actually helps the learning stick. Sometimes that shake is your cue to stop, breathe, and let the dog absorb what they've just learned. Now, these are all really important points. And when we spoke last time in the podcast about observation, all these little observations are things that will tell us a lot about how our dog is feeling in that moment or within that last half an hour's training session. It's really important to observe these. I just want to change the picture a little bit for you. I want you to imagine walking past heavy traffic. There's a lot of loud noises, there's a lot of movement, a lot of vibration going on from the vehicles. Your dog might stay with you and there's no reaction. So, what we call reactions are barking or lunging or moving away from the thing that they're finding stressful. So, in this moment, the traffic. But then, once you get past it and into a quieter area, if your dog does a shake, then that's them usually processing that information that's been given to them. I suppose that's like you finally exhaling once you've crossed a busy road. I mean, I don't know about you, but I always try and get across as quickly as I possibly can to just make sure I'm safe. And then you go, oh, thank goodness for that. Or realizing your shoulders were a bit tense during a dog walk when you're holding onto the lead a lot. Your dog coped in that moment. They didn't freak out. There was no dramatic explosion, but it still took them a bit of effort. And the shake off in this moment, when you get into a quieter space, is them processing that information. But it's also information to you as their handler, as how much your dog actually liked being in that situation. If there's frequent or intense shake-offs after things like loud noises, so loud noises can be absolutely anything. It can be the bin men doing their job. It could be bird scarers, but it doesn't have to be anything as dramatic as that. It could be traffic or the visual of other dogs or even busy environments. So think about if you go to town centres quite a lot, they're busy environments. There's a lot of information in those environments. If your dog shakes off after being in those, that tells you that those situations are costing your dog something emotionally. But if they also shake off quite a lot while they are within the moment of those environments, it's costing them a lot emotionally. For those dogs who really struggle with reactivity or explosive behaviour, they aren't usually reacting to one big thing. They're more than likely reacting to lots of small, unprocessed moments stacked on top of each other. Think of it like a club sandwich. You've got your bread, you've got your chicken, you've got your bacon, your mayonnaise, your tomato, your lettuce, then another piece of bread, chicken, bacon, and it's stacked up just like we do. So think of it from your perspective. You might have had a busy morning, a very difficult conversation. There might have just been too much noise going on and too many demands placed on you. It doesn't take much to tip you over once you have felt that pressure build. Shake-offs are how dogs stop those moments stacking too high. But when we miss them, or when they miss them out, the pressure builds. So here's where we can actively support our dogs. When your dog offers a shake off, you can mark it, reward it, gently associate it with a cue. Shake, shake. This isn't about forcing it or trying to control emotions, but to help your dog access a behaviour that already helps them regulate. Over time, what happens is many dogs learn that shaking helps them to reset, just like we learn to stretch, breathe, or take a pause. This can be especially powerful for dogs who trigger stack quickly. And this is something that I teach a lot in my classes or talk a lot in my classes. I'm very passionate about shake-offs with dogs. And today I've just been working with a little collie who didn't shake off at all throughout the whole hour. He was quite reserved and a little bit shut down when he first arrived. And we found something that motivated him. So the owner brought some treats, some packeted treats from the supermarket. And he was a bit like, yeah, no, thank you very much. My system is in overload right now. So I found some pate that I had in my tack room and we offered him that and he took that really nicely. So we went out for a little walk and what we were trying to observe was, would he take the food? Would he process any information that was given to him? And throughout the whole walk, he did not shake off once. And this was something that I really highlighted to the lady. Because these are important. These are important moments that give us so much information. If we respond to our dogs when they have shaken off and we say, shake, good dog, shake, we're saying to them, I saw you. It definitely mattered. And next time I'll maybe do something different. And that's how those moments become fewer and further between. So here's your reflection for this week. What does your dog do to regulate? And what do you do in return? Because every nervous system communicates and dogs are definitely no different. Sometimes the most important training skill isn't about teaching our dogs something new. It's about understanding how they cope and what we do in response to that. Thank you for spending this time with me. If today's episode helped you slow down, feel seen, or think a little differently about your dog, then it's done its job. Remember, progress isn't about perfection, it's about observation and reflection. You're not behind, you're not failing, and you're definitely not alone. Until next time, keep training kindly and try to keep up.